we're at a point where we were all looking forward to get back to talking about hockey again. So this is a exciting time, and we're hoping that everything that's been put together and all the protocols and everything that we can keep everybody safe and get our games going again. Open for questions.
Thank you. To ask a question, you may press star then one on your telephone keypad. If you're using a speakerphone, we ask that you please pick up your handset before pressing the keys. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's star then one if you have a question. And today's first question comes from Dave Molinari with DK Pittsburgh Sports. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Jim. Thank you very much for doing this, and I hope you and the family are well. Jim, obviously there's going to be a lot of financial uncertainty because of the pandemic. Has ownership told you yet whether you'll be able to be a cap team again next year yet?
Yeah, as you know, our ownership is perfect, and we've had those discussions. We've had a lot of discussions about projections as to where this goes next year and everything, and it's very hard to project. But the one thing that Ron and Mario have said is that with the group we have, that we will contend for Stanley Cup, and that we will be a cap team.
Thank you. Our next question today comes from Seth Rohrbach with Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Please go ahead.
Hello, Jim. Hey, what do you make of the format of the come up with, specifically how it's been 13, getting a matchup with the Montreal Canadiens who, under normal circumstances, weren't really a contender for the playoffs? Just what do you make of the entire setup, I guess?
Oh, I think the league and the players did a good job under these circumstances. And there's a lot of different things that come into making these decisions. And from the Penguins' point of view, the thing that we talked about the most was that the fact we had the seventh best record in the league when we shut down, and our team really did a good job with the injuries we have. Really proud of our players and coaches. And we were hoping that we would not have to be in the play-in. That, we would be automatically in. But with that being said, it's not about any team that we play. The 24 teams that are in, any one of those teams can win series. Playoffs are hard. Everybody knows that. We know it as well as anybody with the success that we've had. And so we're not about picking and choosing teams and whatnot. It was more about the fact that we were hoping that we weren't going to be able to play it.
Thank you. And our next question today comes from Wes Crosby at NHL.com. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for doing this. A few months ago when we were able to speak with you on a conference call, you were optimistic about getting Jake back whenever you would be able to resume playing. I'm just seeing if that still holds true, how he's come along, how Nick Bukestad's come along, how anybody else just come along in the last month or so.
Yeah, well, Jake is going through his rehab. Things are progressing fine. We still have a ways to go before we start playing. And so we're optimistic that he will be available to play. We have, as you know, we have Simone's out. Bukestad had a setback in his rehab, and we'll announce this later today in more detail, but he had surgery yesterday, and he won't be available for the rest of the season. So we feel good about the depth of our team. I talked about it before, about making the Buffalo trade and getting two good NHL players for one, and then, of course, how some of our other guys have come along, Rutherford and Angelo, and we feel we have some forwards that we can bring in that have played some games, like Johnson and Veroni and those guys. So we still feel comfortable with their team.
And our next question today comes from Sam Kassan with Penguins.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for doing this. First, how happy are you to have some semblance of a timeline? There's obviously been a lot of rumors swirling around throughout this process, but now to have something concrete. How happy are you to have that step? And what are the next steps of the team? Do you have a reach out to the guys, start getting a timeline to get these guys back? And if there is going to be some skates in June, kind of what's the next steps for you guys with the organization?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is a little bit fluid, for the obvious reason. But now we have somewhat of an understanding of what the guidelines, what the dates would be. They're not hard dates at this point in time, but we have an understanding. The first 3 to 4 weeks that are coming up are voluntary for the players. So we have made our players aware of that. We've told the players that the building will be available probably by the end of next week or the start of the following week, and they have to make their own decisions as whether they're coming back. We do have a group of players that are pretty eager to come back and are excited about our team. And so I would suspect at some point in time in the next couple of weeks that the majority of our players would be back at Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
And as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star then 1. Today's next question comes from Will Graves with the Associated Press. Please go ahead.
Hey, Jim, thanks for doing this. I'm just sort of curious, as the league weighs sort of where to put these pods at, does the organization have any responsibility in terms of providing them with sort of how things would work from an infrastructure standpoint? I mean, how involved are the Penguins or any of the potential host cities in terms of helping the league sort of get where they need to go? And is your hope that, that whatever they settle on, it does have you guys at least playing in Pittsburgh this summer?
Well, I'm open to wherever we play. I mean, it'll end up being the same for all teams when you're playing in a hub city. So I'm open to that. I wasn't part of the presentation. David Morehouse did that, and there were guidelines, and certainly from Pittsburgh point of view and from the Penguins point of view, we can reach those guidelines. We have the state-of-the-art facility in Cranberry, the Lemieux Center, and with the medical center attached, and we have plenty of hotels and everything like that. So we meet the criteria, but we also understand there's other cities to do also, and that's not going to be a big factor for us as far as where we play. The ice surface is the same size for in all cities and for both teams, and we just have to prepare our team to play.
And our next question today comes from Matt Bensel with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Please go ahead.
Jim, just given all the uncertainty from, health standpoint that we're all dealing with, I mean, have any players expressed any hesitation about potentially returning right away just because of still the unknown about how this virus spreads and things of that nature?
Not to my knowledge. I can understand your question and understand why people would be concerned. We've been fortunate to this point in Pittsburgh with our numbers, and hopefully everybody can be disciplined and we can keep it that way. So, we're not a hot spot, and most of the guys have their homes here. They're comfortable coming back here. So I don't believe anybody has had that concern.
And our next question today comes from Josh Yohe with The Athletic. Please go ahead.
Hey, Jim, thanks for doing this. Kind of along the same lines as Matt's question, I wanted to specifically ask you about Chris Letang. He's a guy who has a health history that's different than other players, certainly. Have you talked with Chris? Do you have any concerns that he might not be able to play? And just as a manager, how sensitive do you have to be if a player comes to you and voices concerns and might not be comfortable playing?
Well, as a manager and as an organization, we're very sensitive to it. We're fortunate to have the medical people we have, having our full-time guy in Dr. Vias, who we really trust. He's really good. And Dr. Vias will talk to each individual at the proper time. And if there's risks for anybody, he will lay out those risks. And then the players or people in the organization will have to make their own decisions. But we are very sensitive to what's going on, and we will be very careful with it.
And our next question is... Sorry, Josh.
Just finish that answer, because I didn't totally answer Josh's question. At this point in time, we do not have any concerns as whether Chris would be able to play or not. It's my understanding he's fine.
Apologies for jumping in early, sir. Our next question is a follow-up for Seth Rohrbach with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Obviously, none of this is ideal or convenient, but what do you make of the time of this in terms of we might be playing for the Stanley Cup in August or September, and then the following season might not start till November, December, January. What do you make of the time element that gets involved in all of this?
Well, I like it. I mean, you're right. It's not ideal. It's not the traditional way. But nothing is these days. But just the fact that the players and the owners wanted to play and figuring out a way to play. And, our game's indoors, so obviously it's going to be hot outside. But the fact that we will do our best to complete this and have a Stanley Cup winner for this season, I think is really important, and it's really good. And the delay next season, I think it's really good. The longer we delay it, the better. Get to a point where we can get our most important people back in, our fans, to see our games. And so the further we push next season out, the better chance of that happening. And so I like how hard that Gary and Bill and Don Fear and the players worked on this. They worked together. They worked hard on it. And so, anyways, as an organization, we're excited about the fact that we can get back playing and compete for the cup.
Thank you.
And today's final question comes from Wes Crosby with NHL.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, Jim, just looking ahead to that matchup with Montreal, just what challenges will they present in general? And also, what are the unique challenges of facing a team that maybe, for the lack of a better term, got a second shot at life here with this unique format?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, Montreal is a good team. They dealt with some adversity the same way as we did, with some key injuries, and certainly they have a good team. I mean, we all know with the parity in the league now, that just because you're out of the top 16, it doesn't mean you don't have a good team. So it'll be a good matchup. I think that all the series will be really good. And you can break it down to one team, whether it's Montreal you're playing, or it's the New York Rangers, or it's Columbus, or whoever it is. All these teams are good teams that could go on a run and win a few series. And so I don't think that we should be sitting here thinking about our opponent. We should be doing what we did when we won Stanley Cups. We should come in, play our own game, have our own players prepared, and just play. And that's what we're going to do.
And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the question and answer session and today's conference call. Thank you all for attending today's presentation.